Here we go, my friends. Another episode of Sales Chatter on Wins and Lessons Friday. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties today, so we hope that we're going to be broadcasting everywhere we need to broadcast. DJ's channels won't come in. Mark's camera won't work. But you know what?
My channels are not coming in, y'all. So
we all got lessons for today, y'all. We all got lessons, and they're big ones today. Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly. DJ, are you keeping tally? Because we got Jeff as victorious this morning over Lisa, and then we got Greg with a close second, Richard coming in, Jeff coming in on the end, and then Lisa says he got me.
So on my end, it actually shows even Greg and Lisa are tied, 901-02. So pretty good.
Yeah,
good job.
Where did Mr. Ridley go now?
Yeah, he's going.
Y'all are messing around with me with all your videos coming in now. It's like we're raving and nobody knows.
Y'all, so sorry if you're looking for my channel will show these on the replay, but it's nothing's going to my channels right now.
Yeah, so we're having a little restream issue. I know Jeff's fully aware of restream issues. You know, just saying to Mark, because Mark's video was coming in black, and I said, just reboot the computer, and we're going back and forth, and I did that whole conversation again.
I tried to reboot the computer. It didn't help.
It didn't help. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't. So, DJ, it looks like we're on the same path this morning.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Monster. Welcome. So, before we get started, I have a question for the two of you, and I have a question for all the viewers watching right now.
Oh, all right.
So, for those of you that, and it's more Rich. Of a, that's why I didn't win today, DJ. So, here's the thing, right? About a decade ago, I used to be a professional drinker, and then I stopped being a professional. So recently,
I like how you play that too.
I found non-alcoholic Corona. Okay. And Corona was one of my favorite beers, like sitting outside in the hot sun with the lime and all that kind of stuff. So this morning, I'm like, I want a cold drink. So I actually reached and grabbed the Corona. So my question is it weird because it's non-alcoholic that I wanted a Corona at about 8:30 in the morning?
You know, that's such a great question. Mark, there's no sound either.
I can't hear you. Yeah, now you're messing around with us, brother. So while Mark's fixing his sound, you tell me, give me your opinion, DJ.
So I will say, I don't think so, but okay. I just don't. I guess I don't really judge that way. I guess if it was alcohol, I might judge you, but because it's not alcohol, I'm not judging. But I'm not a beer drinker, but I can understand what you're saying. I guess what I relate it to is like, so I was a big soda drinker, like pop, you know, regular pop, and switch from that to regular diet pop, and then zero. Now in the morning, sometimes I do have that, like, and I think that's weird too, to have a pop in the morning. So same thing. I think it's the same thing.
So Lisa says nah. Richard says absolutely not. What do you say, Mark?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes. We can hear you now.
Sweet.
We're on a Sprint commercial.
I think you probably should have stopped after, is it weird that I'm reaching for non-alcoholic beer? Yeah, that's the answer.
Mark, that reminds me. So when I first quit drinking about 2 years into my sobriety, I used to bring cans of non-alcoholic beer in my car. Like if I was drinking it when I had to go somewhere, I'd just go and put it in my car and I'd be driving. And I hit a ride program. And I'm pulling up to the ride program, and I actually got nervous, and I'm thinking, oh my God. So it's funny. I grabbed the can and I showed, he goes, you've been drinking? I said, well, you might smell beer. I said, because I drink non-alcoholic beer. I go, is that okay? He goes, oh yeah, that's nothing. And I'm like, you could have paused for a split second, you know, to ponder it. I go, you didn't have to just, and he starts laughing. He goes, dude, it's all good, go. So it's funny you said that. So go on. Do you think it's weird?
Mark does.
Yeah, well, look, I'm heading off to Portugal in a couple of weeks to play golf with the guys. So we'll probably finish drinking at like 3, 4 and start again up at 7. So no, that's not weird. That's par for the course.
Yeah.
Absent the fact that you're drinking non-alcoholic beer. Just stick to water. If you're going to do it, just
And he said,
I just
screw it, y'all.
wanted to make sure before y'all are like, Deigan, I don't know about you, man. You're kind of, so I'm going to put my lime in and cheers.
Oh, hey. Celebrate. I love it. This is a fun show already.
All right, there we go. I love kombucha, my new mocktail.
Okay.
A new mocktail. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, I've never heard
So
of that.
this actually starts an interesting conversation because
We really did just get
Jeff
something
Patterson says my wife has McDonald's Coke with with extra ice every morning. It's her
See,
coffee.
I can understand
my
that.
God.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
How,
Greg says, Dan, I was a serious drunk for 15 years and I had always had an excuse to drink. The question is not for us to answer, but for yourself. The question is to you, is this masking your real desire for a real beer? If not, good. Yeah, no, it's not. Like when
He
I
just likes to
quit,
taste.
I quit cold. There was situations that happened that I won't get into at this moment. Maybe one day I will, but I quit cold turkey and there's never been a stitch of alcohol that has ever touched my system since, even to the point where
Smart.
when I go to the keg, I used to get the peppercorn sauce, but I don't know if you're aware, the peppercorn sauce is actually made with whiskey. So I no longer even get the peppercorn sauce. So I have zero desire to ever put alcohol. Like you can bet everything you've ever owned and ever will own on me never having a sip of alcohol again. But I love the taste of beer. Like I love the thirst quenching of it, and especially it's my favorite. So when I saw it, like I drink non-alcoholic beers throughout the years, and kind of just more on a hot day. Like never really had it in the wintertime, but more on a hot day where it was like just that, I don't know, that quenchingness of a beer for people that like the taste of beer. And
Yeah.
when I found this, I was like, man, I'll put like a 12 pack back in 2 hours because I just love it so much. And then I got to be careful because if I got to go driving or something, that's always the joke is, Dan, slow down because you might have to drive somewhere. Right. So no, Greg, I appreciate you. I do appreciate you sharing that, but no, it's never going to happen again in my lifetime. So absolutely. So Jess, if I don't have 5 cups of coffee before 11, I'm done.
Okay.
Brother,
so we got the coffee drinkers. Okay, how many? Yeah, I guess we'll go down that rabbit hole. Who all needs to have that coffee, or who has that cup that says, "I didn't have my coffee yet, fuck off," or something like that? Whoever has that, shout that out too.
Yeah, shout that out because
I'd like to see who needs the coffee before anybody could talk to them. Because I think that's.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not. I love coffee. Like I'll have 6, 7, 8 cups of coffee a day, and then I usually have like a cappuccino after dinner and all that kind of stuff. And I'll like drink coffee right into the nighttime and go to sleep 10 minutes later. Like it's Jeff says, "There's my pal, morning Mark. What's up with those 1 to 2 a.m. messages? LOL. He's testing me to see if I answer. Boom, I deliver. Laugh my ass off." That actually brings up something, Mark, because I've had messages from you at like 2 a.m. before, and I'm sitting there thinking, does this man not sleep either? Because I'm always up. Like,
it's funny you say that, like, because I've just been on a text chat with a new client this week, and I sent out a welcome to Green Shoots FX email at 3 a.m. and he's like, "Are you getting up or are you going to bed?" I said, "I was just putting my head on the pillow, but then I was back on the keyboard at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't drink coffee.
You don't drink coffee?
Sodas. Really?
No.
Do you drink like tea or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do the taste, but I love the smell. So I'm a tea guy.
Got
for
it.
Sure.
Okay.
Like
the smell of fresh ground coffee beans is
I love it.
Awesome. Yeah. Our cappuccino machine grinds the coffee beans right there. And like literally we just stand over the machine and go, oh, it's such a good smell. I know it sounds weird, but
we have a lot of flavored coffees kicking around the kitchen, and they're nice.
Yes.
I really like those.
Yeah.
But I just have to go back to it, and we should never judge anybody. But like, you can't drink McDonald's cola in the morning or any time.
Come on.
Like that has just got diabetes written right through it. Oh my god! I mean, but I'm saying that, but I'll eat 4 Dunkin' Donuts back to back.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to make sure
there's your weakness.
I have type 1 diabetes. I got type 1 diabetes in my mid 30s. Okay. So type 1 diabetes is typically juvenile diabetes. So when I would get a dozen donuts, I swear they only put 6 in. Like I asked for a dozen, and when I get home, there's 6. So when you say dude, you come follow me with a camera for a day. Like yesterday, the hockey game was on. Game 6 of the Leafs game was on. So I said, well, I'm gonna get 2 bags of chips. I'm gonna get some candies. So I bought a bag of Sour Patch Kids. I was a 15-minute drive. I got home, they were gone, and all I meant to do was have 1 or 2 in the vehicle, and then I get home, and everybody could share. And by the time I got home, there was none for anyone. I ate a caramel bar and a bag of that in a 15-minute drive. So,
well, so Dan, there's another thing we have in common. My nickname for most of my family is Snacks, because I really love that kind of stuff. So, but on the side note that Max threw in there, I don't hate everything about tea. I hate everything about coffee, even the smell. I don't like the smell, but
really,
tea, I don't mind the smell of tea. But
you know, I knew you were an odd feller. But he says you can have that conversation with my wife. Jeff says you can have that conversation with my wife.
Good luck. Good luck.
So guys, listen.
Mark, what's going on?
So wins and lessons. I'm Mark. You haven't been here for 2 weeks, so share with us, because brother, it's always interesting to see what's going on in the old financial world. Talk to us.
Yes. What is going on?
Thanks, gents. First of all, I've got a slight reverb in my ears, so if I'm talking over you, I don't mean to.
Nope.
But I can hear myself while I can hear you. So the last couple of weeks, in fact, the last probably 6 weeks have been really, really good for new business. Same this week. And the individual that I sent the email to at 3 a.m. to welcome him to Green Shoots FX was an individual and not a company. And we have 1 or 2 of those. And this was kind of a sensitive one, because they need to send a significant amount of money into an investment fund in another country. And so it was a more thorough due diligence that was required. And I had to really hold our implementation and KYC specialists through this one. And so I suppose my win for this week, well, is a couple of other clients, but this one in particular. And the lesson, or is more of a reminder, is to be incredibly thorough with communications, and be clear, be concise. Don't even be afraid to keep it short. And then as I was going through that, it kind of just reminded me that it's the same in client communications. Yes. Like, don't be overwordy, write something out. I often find then that I have to walk away, metaphorically, like I turn away and do something else, and then come back to it, and then you read it with a fresh mind, and you'll pick up more spelling mistakes and grammar issues, and then you'll probably trim a third of it as well. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a reminder lesson than an out something went wrong lesson. But it's been a good week, another good week.
Would you not say that reminder lessons are probably some of the most important lessons? Because we know a lot of this stuff. Like, we know we should be thorough with our emails. We know we should be short, concise for the reader, for the respect of the time of the individual getting it. But then, so Mark, here's my big question. I know DJ is going to smile because I always ask him this. So what have you implemented? So next week, the week after that, you remind yourself of this event to say, okay, short, concise, like explain to everybody what your process is now that you've put in place, so you don't forget this reminder.
I like that.
Well, initially, back in the day, it would have to be Post-it notes, like old school Post-it notes. That's what it was. I had them plastered across my screen. I had a massive screen, but only a small viewing section because I had stickies all over. But then the stickies became too much that you ended up ignoring them. So I honestly, it's for me now, it's about just training the brain. Like, do it over and again, over and over again, and that's how it sticks. For me, at least.
I like that.
That's a good one. That's good.
So I nothing implemented per se, but just just a casual reminder.
So I started when I go to write, like I actually block time in my day to write. And something that's really working for me, and I don't know if you use an agenda like I use a paper agenda, as well as like my Google Calendar now is all I figured. And so, by the way, DJ, I can talk to you offline, but I figured how to connect all your stuff to Google. And so I
Yeah.
use only Google Calendar now, and it populates everything, and it's awesome, like
Really?
really awesome.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll
I've
have
got the whole app for Mac down to put
okay.
the
We'll have to
calendar
talk
in
about
your
that.
app bar, and so we'll
Yeah.
talk about it because I know the other day we were saying, how do we do it? I watched so a couple of lessons and wins, but I'll get into that later. But so what I did, Mark, is what I started doing is like when I block certain time out, I put the main intention points in that time now.
Mm,
So it's actually helping huge. So like when I write, it's the exact same thing. Short, concise, make sure the points are hit. Those are all in my time block on my schedule. So like writing time, and then I put like 3 or 4 things that I really need to focus on during that time. Then reply to emails. Like I'm starting to block
mm,
all of my time during the day for specific things because I find when we block the time and we don't just kind of move from one to another, when we actually sit down and say, okay, from 9 to 10 is this, from 10 to 10:30 I'm going to reply to emails. I
mm,
find that I'm so much more intentional about every single step. It's crazy how
Yeah.
productive you get when you set these intentions prior to it. Now, some of us,
yes.
just because a customer sends an email, you don't want them to wait an hour while you're writing or whatever. So in certain situations, but in all those situations, I find that if I just stop and I look at my book and it says email with my intentions, like I started a couple of weeks ago putting it in the notes section at the bottom of the page. Which helped because I would highlight, and either everyone would be in a different highlighter. So if I'm sending email, what's the intention of every email I want to send? How do I want to be represented on that email? If I'm writing an article, how do I want it, and all that kind of stuff works like gangbusters, brother. So I don't know if that helps, but it might even get you to that next level of intentionality. Does that make
No,
sense?
Yeah.
Intentionality.
No, I like that.
I love that you said that, Dan. And I guess just to kind of add on a little bit to that, just maybe even, I guess, a word count, sentence count, or length, uh, even to keep it to. I've seen a few
Mm-hmm.
people kind of mention that in like
Mm-hmm.
posts and different things, messages, word count, just quick and to the point.
Yeah. Ryan says, blocking is so key. It's done great for my prospecting, especially calls. Aim for $25 an hour. Exactly. And
Time
Ryan, I
blocking
mean,
changed my life, Ryan.
oh
Changed my
yeah, I
life.
mean, it's one of the first things we teach in Inception is how do we block our time to accomplish our big 5 moves, right?
Yeah.
How do we schedule this? No matter what's happening in a day, this has to be done because
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
really
there's
the
no ifs, ands, or
progression,
buts. Yeah,
right?
when you truly do a time block, I mean, you want to have it all prepped, all clear, and you're just on that one focus. Nothing else can get in that way. And when you
Mm-hmm.
do that, yeah, it changes everything.
Yeah,
We think
100.
we
I
talked
mean,
about this before. I've also blocked out some time for me.
Yeah,
So just take the
you
dog out for
you
30
absolutely
minutes,
need it.
get away. And
mm-hmm.
that's a recurring thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I end up falling victim to ignoring it. And I need to figure
Yes.
out how do I not? Because it's so easy. You get the reminder pop up, remind me in 5 minutes, remind me in 5 minutes, remind me in 5 minutes. Then it's 3 o'clock in the morning, a bit late to
Yeah,
take the dog out. So I need to be a bit more
or
disciplined.
early. I guess it could be
Or
early.
early, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, you don't want to go out
Mark,
at 3.
that is some of the most important time, and it's the hardest time. Like real go-getters do. It's the hardest time because you feel like you're unproductive. And
Yeah.
one of my mentors once told me, he says, Dan, here's the thing. Just like when you go to a gym, if you go to the gym to work out, your typical body testosterone is about 45 to 55 minutes. After that, your testosterone floods. So he says, anyone in the gym for 2-3 hours is wasting their time because they're not at
unproductive.
peak
It's a lot of
performance.
unproductive time, is what it
A
is.
lot of unproductive time.
Yeah.
And how do you refresh? You refresh by taking a break from staring at the screen, by taking a break from getting carpal tunnel, by taking, like all of these things. Don't get me wrong, brother. I have every lunchtime that I take the dogs for an hour walk. I maybe get to it once every 2 weeks. Like no friggin' joke, because somebody will say, hey, can we get a meeting? I'm like, yeah. And I look at this block time, this empty space in my calendar. Yeah, we could put it in there. But it's so tough. So tough. And it's like at the end of the day, I transition well. I operate with intention. I know, like, I spend a couple of minutes before every call. What's the intention of this call? What do I want to hit? How do I want to represent myself? How would my best self serve this prospect or this customer in this call? These are all questions I ask. But when it's comes time to serve me or to sit down with my wife for lunch, it's like, just give me 2 seconds, honey. Just give me 2 seconds. And, and at the end, I'm like, shit, my wife just went back to work. She had 45 minutes. I spent 4 minutes with her. Like, and then we always afterwards, fuck, I got to get better at that tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and it's like, just like, just like for all you salespeople there, you go through the week and at the end of the week, you're like, damn, I fucked up this week, man. I did shit. And you're like, Monday, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. I'm like on it. And then Monday comes, the end of that week comes, you're like, damn, I did it again. It happens all the time.
I'm so glad you went into that. That was my wins and losses for this week. And Ryan's comment actually has a lot to do with it. My win for this week actually was my loss or my lesson at the same time. It was why do I feel like in the mornings I'm behind? But it's because I gave up my routine of really the 5. So I wake up at 4:48, but 5 a.m. club. Anybody's heard of that? The 20-20-20 and all of those things. That it's amazing what he teaches. But winning back when you can win the morning, you win the day. And I can't explain that any better than that. That morning time that I have from 5 till the show starts. Well, really, I start prepping for 8:30 for the show. But that
if you want a really good book, Hal Elrod, HALELROD. It's called The Miracle Morning. Ooh. Hal is an amazing dude. I've had the privilege of interviewing him a couple of times. He is a rock star, and he wrote The Miracle Morning, and it is one of the best books about what to do in the morning to really prime yourself.
Having that back this week, I started riding bike and doing the morning thing and doing the exercise, meditation, personal growth, that kind of stuff. My little routine in the morning, and oh my goodness, what a difference!
And do you do that obviously before the kids get up?
Oh yeah, that's the only time I can get to myself.
You tend to not have any time to yourself. Yeah. Jeff says, wins. I'm pumped, created and launching a new association soon, the North Jersey Association of Logistics and Supply Chain Luminaries. More to follow. Follow my posts if you live in New Jersey and New York area to learn more.
Yeah.
Where'd Mark go?
Mark disappeared. He might have had issues or something.
Ryan says, put yourself first. What helped is leaving both phones in my kitchen while I block time. But truthfully, it's just discipline. You know what, Ryan? You're absolutely right. And it's the discipline of, so have any of you, here's a question.
Hey, congrats.
Have any of you started a routine, right? Started a process, found huge results, and somehow just gave it up?
All the time.
Right? Like, I think we all go through that. Yeah. And it's a, like stop and going, why did I stop that? Why did I stop prospecting like that? It was getting me big results. And I've come to the conclusion, because we always want something bigger and shinier. Like for me, it's like I want the shiny thing at Home Depot or Canadian Tire or Princess Auto or one of the really cool stores. And I walk in and I'm like Mr. What's the guy's name? The one that does this on The Simpsons, Mr. Smith or
what
whatever.
Was his name? Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
Mr.
Burns. I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of like Homer and Mr. Burns all together, because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many cool things in here. And it's funny because I see something, I'm like, what can I use that for? And I have no friggin' need for it, right? But it's shiny. So yeah, I hear you there, DJ. So go on. Sorry.
No, yeah, and really that was my big thing. Changing that everything else is going great. Lots of wins. I kind of feel like I'm living on heaven on earth right now. But it's winning the morning. That doing that and bringing that back into my life. That was, it was exactly what you said. That was a routine that I knew. It did so well. it literally implanted it. I have like an internal sleeping clock. I only sleep 6 hours. 6 hours. If I go to bed at 2 o'clock, I'm waking up at 8. If I go to bed at 11, I'm waking up at 5. If I go to bed, it's 6 hours. It's literally. And And so I did it for a long time. And then that was one of those routines that I was like, but I kind of I'm working later. And then I'm doing shout out to Nick. I seen your post. I was up late actually working like you were. But seeing his 4 a.m. post. And it was kind of that battle that I was having, work at nights when the kids are sleeping, but wake up in the morning. I'm losing my mornings, my whole routine. What do I want to give up? And that's, I had to get back to the morning.
If any of you ever, so Wayne Dyer, as you guys know, is a massive like mentor of mine, and he has an audio video program called Inspiration. And in Inspiration, he says he shares a couple of things. So a 15-minute meditation is you rejuvenate as much energy as a 4-hour sleep. So he says during the night, he goes, when I wake up, it's the universe telling me something. And he goes, and they've shared multi-million-dollar ideas. He goes, I get up, I do what I need to do. If I'm tired, I'll take a 15-minute meditation. Yes. So, and he goes, and I'll just, during the day, I'll just block out 15 minutes. I'll feel tired. I'll just go into a room or whatever. And for 15 minutes, I'll just meditate. And, you work in an office, go sit in your car for 15 minutes. Those people that smoke are outside every hour on the hour taking 5 minutes. So you know what, for you to take 15 minutes and yes. DJ, to that respect, creativity comes in moments. And if we don't seize the woo, if we don't seize the window of opportunity when that creativity comes, I think we lose so much. I can't tell you how many times I used to have an hour and 20-minute drive to work and about an hour and 35-minute drive home. And I can't tell you how many times I pulled over on the side of the highway because it was like, oh my God. And I'm like,
this idea.
Yeah. Right. And I'm frantically typing or recording a voice memo into my phone because it's like, oh my God, this has to, how many times I've woken up in the middle of the night arbitrarily. And I'm like, and I'm trying, I keep little, me guys know me, I'm like the little cue card guy. And I keep them beside my bed and I'm like writing and I'm like, no, this isn't working. I get up and I'll sit here for 3 hours and then I'll have like an hour sleep and then, and it's awesome. Like it's friggin' spectacular.
Oh, it's amazing.
And don't get me wrong, there's days where I'm like, oh my God, like, because I haven't had the opportunity to go and meditate or do any of that. And it's like, you're just drained. But I've always said one day doesn't hurt. You do that for a week with no sleep, maybe you'll be impacted. But if the Navy SEALs can do it, dude, I'm all over it. Like one night, no sleep for creativity. I mean, I'm not saying I'm anywhere close. I mean, I'm round like a pear. I'm not like a Navy SEAL. But it's, it's that, like, okay, it's one night. But what did the universe send your way? And how will that impact your life and help the people that you've just figured out the solution? You know what I mean? Like any of those things start coming. So it's, I pay attention to that shit like you would not believe. And it's like, I mean, for ages there at 3:33, I was getting up every day. 3:33, no matter when I would go to bed, 3:33, my eyes would open and I'm like sitting up and you just wait. You're like, who is a thought coming?
Where is this?
It's crazy.
I mean, there is some truth to what you're saying. And there is, again, I forget who it was. One of the, Benjamin Franklin, one of those guys, they would sit in a chair with a steel ball and hold it over metal plates. And as soon as they started to doze, they would drop it, but it would wake them up. And they realized that in those moments, that brief window, the woo, they were super creative, and that's when they came up with their ideas.
Their ideas.
And so
it's the in between.
Crazy.
It's the in between. Yeah. See, the in between thoughts, the in between moments are where everything happens. And I believe wholeheartedly that we tend to not pay attention to them when we're aimlessly going through our day.
Yes.
And I shouldn't say aimlessly, unconsciously going through a day is probably a better word, not aimlessly, because we all.
That's what I love about riding a bike, because you're not really focused. I just got it. I got either headphones, I'm listening to an audiobook, or I'm listening to music, and I'm just falling in line and thinking, and my brain is going. So it's amazing.
Same thing with Jeff. Best ideas come when I'm sleeping. I pop out of bed, turn on my voice recorder on the phone, and just blabber away.
Yeah,
100%. And that's I see. I think if we don't pay attention to this, we miss out on so much. And so Rene Godefroy, I'll have to reach out to Renee and get him on the show because he
Well,
is
that's why
awesome.
Les Brown calls the graveyard the richest place in the world.
It's where all the visions go to die. He says, Rene Godefroy says, you're only one applied idea away from changing everything in your life. And where that idea comes from is up to you.
Pay attention.
So my win is my community says that I can drink non-alcoholic beer, and it's not, and I'm not a crazy, or I'm not a wacko. So here's a couple of things this week. The big lesson this week: take a breath, go slower. I'm a big fan of move fast and break shit all the time, and in some cases it doesn't work. So I'll share with y'all kind of what's happening. So in the last 36 hours, I've sent out 3,300 emails, and my server felt flagged as if I'd been spammed. So the server flagged as if I'd been hacked, and my server just cut all my emails off. Literally, my only email is my iCloud email. It flagged my server's IP address. And now I'm in this huge battle. Not battle, I shouldn't say that. I'm in this huge thing to get it back. So I'm testing a lot of different things. And in the testing process, I'm like, no more. I want to test more. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put so much out there so I get like numbers coming back, so I can access the data. Instead of 3 weeks, I can do it in a week, right? In the digital world, y'all, not a very good thing. I'm learning. Okay. So lesson, take the 3 weeks to make it happen, because the nightmare that happens. And I'm sure this, remember I shared with you guys the email where the guy called me spam on. So I'm sure he reported me, and there was probably a couple more people. So I'm rethinking volumes, to say the least. I'm rethinking verbiage. I'm rethinking a bunch of things, because it was interesting, and I'm talking to the guy from my server, and I said, it's interesting. I could make as many calls as my day allows. Do I get hung up on? Yeah. Do people say, hey, thank you for the call, but not interested? All the time. But I send an email, and I'm this dark force on the web. I said, it's interesting. And he came back and he said something pretty interesting. He says, when you call, it's like, they're used to it. He says, as much as emails come in, people get so many emails. And he says, and what I've noticed is, and a lot of customers, they sign up for so many things that because they're like, oh, they're interested. They sign up for 2 weeks later, they're not interested, but they don't unsubscribe. And he says, and all of a sudden they just hit that day where their email has like 50 emails that are zero relevance to them. And he goes, and you might just have been the 51st where it's like, screw this noise. And he says, we run into it all the time. I mean, they're a server company. So you can imagine how many people they serve and how many issues like this they have. So it was a very interesting conversation. I said, you know what, you're right. And he says, he gave me a couple of different ways to avoid it and to kind of help mitigate the issue. But he says, just tone it back. He says, because when you send that man, and I was like guns a-blazing, right? Like, I mean, I was on fire. And he says, when he said, do you realize that your system sent 3,300 emails in the last 36 hours? I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't mean to do that. He's like, dude, he goes like, so immediately it said, okay, there's a bot or something happening here. That's so immediately it's just an immediate shutdown. So I had to change all my passwords and like reconfigure all my emails, all that kind of jazz in the background.
I think it probably looked at your Facebook account and realized that you only had 3 friends, and we're like, well, how can you be sending?
I don't even have 3.
This guy on social media has no friends, but he's sending emails to everybody. What's going on?
He's a complete loser, and he's sending out all these emails. So it was so that big lesson is sometimes we got to take a deep breath. Sometimes we got to be, as much as we think we're strategic, is there a more strategic or more direct way to get the same results? And that's really what I'm starting to work around in my head over the last, this happened at like 12:30 yesterday afternoon. So I've been kind of battling with it since then. So we're, going on 24 hours now, close to, I guess, a couple hours away from 24 hours, and still no answers. I had to fill out a bunch of paperwork, explain what I was doing. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't even know if they'll unblacklist me, meaning those emails might just go to everybody's spam folder from, if they don't unblock me, it's like it's called like a spam phase.uoa or something is the company that you have to apply to, or spam house, and you have to apply to it and explain like what you were doing and what happened. Like, did you get hacked? Did you not get hacked? And so I kind of went through the whole thing. I don't know. But you know what? It's interesting because through this process and answering some of the questions, I stopped and I went, shit, I think it kind of does feel like spam. So it was interesting because it was eye-opening. Whereas when that gentleman sent me the email on the weekend, I mean, listen, he was vulgar. He told me to F off. Like it wasn't worded properly, but I kind of put myself in his position after the call with the server and then the filling out the paperwork. And I stopped and I went, okay, so I've got a revamping going on, which is awesome because it's, every challenge brings us to a new opportunity, and every challenge just brings us to a new level of awareness. And I'm going to honor it. And I'm going to, take it on my shoulders and wear it proudly and fix it and correct it. So that's kind of where I'm at this week, gents.
Oh, I love it. That's crazy. I did not know you could get flagged like that. So that's interesting.
Neither did I. Oh, yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Do you guys not work with like any media companies or any marketing firms? Because that's the first thing they'll tell you. A decent one will tell you that anyway. That you don't want to be sending out that many, because it will. And I didn't. I mean, look, the getting off that blacklist. Hopefully that's going to happen, but I've always been warned that's not where you want to be. Not that I want to put the fear of God into you at this point in time, but
I mean, Mark, listen, if I'm on it, that it's my fault. I have to wear it because I'm the one that did it. I wasn't hacked. Yeah. I did it. I just ramped everything up way too fast. My bad. But you know what? Great lesson now. I'd rather it now before everything starts happening and I blacklist a major launch or something. So I'm happy. It's a lesson I needed to learn now. And as much as trust me, don't get me wrong, guys. Imagine if all of your emails got cut off. Zero communication. Everybody that's sending you emails, it's going into the abyss. Every email you reply back, they're like, why isn't Dan replied back to me? So like I was yesterday, I'm like, I'm texting so many people. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening. I'm switching to my Gmail account. I'm trying to reply from this account. I'm re-adding people's emails. I'm changing, so they're used to like Dan at hplsales.com. All of a sudden it's coming from Dan Deigan at Gmail. Like it's what? They're like, how many email addresses do you have? You know how many emails I've got like that in the last 24 hours? How many email addresses do you have? Like, because I'm like, I don't know. I just got to get it out. But it's a lesson, a big one. And I'd rather learn it now than when 12, 15, 16,000 emails are on the line. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, that blackout, that's called Nirvana by my wife.
Yes.
That's if I'm not sitting at a keyboard and I'm now like in family time, she would love me to be in that spam blackout.
So let me ask you this. Okay. Great response. But where would your brain be? Because your brain wouldn't be sitting with your wife if you had zero communication, right? You'd be like,
exactly. No, I would be elsewhere, but my body would be present, but my mind would just be like in a complete phase of meltdown, I would imagine.
Yeah, it would. Richard says, Navy SEALs, right or wrong, my productivity bar might be a bit lower. Jeff says 3,300 emails. Thank God Dan is not aggressive. You can imagine if he was. Come on, pick up the pace, pal. I know. Jeff, I know, brother. And here's the thing is
he was pumping.
Here's the thing. My plan was 5,000 a day. I wanted to do 25,000 a week because in 4 weeks I could hit 100,000 people. You get the data back from 100,000 people. Huge, right? Like the data set I would have would be awesome. And so I'm like, okay, no, I need it now. Like for me, my whole my whole life.
Agreed.
It's not been instant gratification. It's how could I do this at this level? Like, how could I raise them? And from my whole childhood, I've been like that. And it's the way my brain is wired. It's not as if I make one sales call and I expect to get a customer. It's okay. If it takes me 100 sales calls to get a customer, how do I do 500? Because I want 5 customers a day.
You're a 10Xer. That's good.
Right. But yeah, I guess. Yeah. So, and that's always my brain, the way it works. So I was like, okay, how do I put 5,000 people into every day, get that going? So I got like 4 different accounts of this, 7 different accounts of that. And I'm like jumping back and forth and creating lists. And I'm like, I literally, if I had 5 screens, I'd be 5 times more productive, but it's not real in my
you
brain.
Would be Evan Almighty then, or Bruce Almighty.
But I wouldn't. And that's the thing. And that's what I realized is that's the big lesson is it's not about that. It's about quality.
Quality. Yeah.
So if I had 10 times more quality and dropped that down from 3,300 to 500 or 1,000, this is the question that I'm starting to ask myself. And I don't know what the end answer is. I'll share with you guys in a couple of weeks once I start doing my new round of testing. But the question is, if I up the quality, if I change the verbiage, can I do 1,000 a day or 500 a day and get more results? It's an interesting question because,
it is.
And for any of you that have done this, like Ryan earlier said, he does what, 25 connections a day, right? Why? Is 50? Did you find when you tried to do 50, you either ran out of time and couldn't hit the number, or you weren't paying as much attention as you did with the 25? So it becomes 25 higher quality over 50 lower quality. What are the results?
Yeah.
So you're sending messages out and there's a call to action, which is pick up the phone, set up a meeting or whatever. How would you handle 3,300 positive responses?
See, here's the thing is I know it's about because I'm very specific. So I have a very specific customer profile. So I know I'm going to hit about 1 in 100 and 150.
Right.
So I'm able to, with 30-minute meetings and that kind of stuff. Like I would never expect 3,200. And I don't think anyone, make 3,200 phone calls. You're never going to expect more than 100. Right. Like, so, but for me, it was
so funny. Richard thought the same thing though. Richard thought the same thing. He said, if you see his, he just put it up there.
They did. Yeah, or even if you get 100 back, like you don't want to.
Well, that's what he said. 1,000. He said, "What if you get the message perfect and you get 1,000 replies?"
Yeah, and I mean that'll never happen.
Yeah, there we go.
Right, Richard. I know that will never happen. What would happen? I don't know. I haven't got that far along the process, but it just reality is it would never in a million years. Like you wouldn't even get that much of a response if you sent 1,000 people if you had like the vaccine to COVID, right? Like when the vaccine first came up, because people were like, no, not happening. People were like, yes. So not even in that respect would you get 1,000 out of 1,000. And it's just, but if I can go from like 3% to a 7%, right? And then you take that message and then you get more strategic with who it goes to. And does that message go up to 15% or 20%? Now you can lower your output to get the same result. So then once you start and you say, okay, now I've got a process, let's ramp up the output slowly to get a higher result, right? Whereas I was like, dump the dump truck right here. And forget about, like, so if you've ever had like 20 yards of dirt delivered to your house and you're trying to span it over the entire area, right? You can dump the entire truck and shovel the shit out of it and move it, or you can start dumping and tell the guy to move forward and he dumps it like this and then you just spread it, right? That was kind of, I don't even know if I think that analogy works, doesn't it? Like,
it does now.
Anymore. It does now. So, do you know what I'm saying? I can't believe I just went construction on y'all. But Jeff says, go to an auto daily schedule of 500. I believe you can do this. Yes. So that's what in essence, Jeff, that's what I have to do. I have to wind it back.
Bring it back.
Really wind it back. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing, gents. That was my lesson. Breathe, everybody. Breathe.
Breathe. I like it.
Yeah. Just everything will come in time. When you push things, nothing happens. But
Yes, sir.
you go back to
Hey.
you go back to what Mark
Poignant.
said, the reminder,
Yeah.
right? We know if we push a prospect to close, we lose them because then you get commission breath. Like this, none of this is rocket science. It's in our face, but we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ah, I love it.
Gents, we
Well,
are
hey.
like
We're at
we
45
got to
minutes.
really
That
start.
went
Well, actually, I have to really start paying attention to
That,
time.
that went
because
really, that
I
went
tend to
really
babble.
fast. But hey, thank you guys, everybody. Thank you, Mark, obviously for
Thank you,
joining
guys.
us. As always, have a safe trip. You said you're going somewhere.
A couple of weeks, though, right?
Oh, in a couple of weeks, yeah, I'm off to Portugal.
Okay.
Nice.
Play some golf, drink some
We'll
beer.
probably see you before that. Thank you, everybody,
Oh,
for joining us. Thank you again for all your feedback, all your comments, joining us weekly. Again, start your day right with us. Sales Chatter Live daily, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Start your day right with us. Quote to take us out. It has honestly nothing. I just love the quote. I heard it in my ear this morning when I was riding my bike, and I was like, hold on. This was one of the, I'll tell you full disclosure. I almost wrecked my bike because I was like, oh my gosh, hold on. I got to remember this word. So I went to stop, but I went to grab my bag because I wanted my phone. And so to stop it. So I was like, I almost lost control for a second, but I really loved it. So anyways, Spartan Warriors. This came from Spartan Warriors, y'all. Sweat more in training, and you will bleed less in war.
Oh, dude, that is awesome, brother. That is awesome. Jeff says, "Have a good weekend, everybody, and bring on Monday."
Weekend,
yes, sir. Have a good weekend, y'all. Take care.
Put in the work.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversation.